First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for saying I don't care about making things better? I, 16 female, live with my dad and his family. My mom died last year. I was raised mostly by her for 10 years because when I was 5, she and my dad broke up and he moved across country to be with his now wife. I only know this because it's pretty coincidental that he left the state and moved in with her very fast, considering the move happened mere weeks after he moved out of mine and my mom's. Maybe I'm wrong, but I was never dumb. It's clear he left to be with his current wife. I saw him for 3 weeks in the summer and every other spring break until I moved in after my mom died. I've got to be honest, I didn't want to move. I wanted to move in with my grandparents who still live in my home state. But my dad insisted I needed to live with family, so now I live with him and his wife, plus her 2 kids and their 3 kids together. My stepsister is the same age as me, and she's upset I don't call her my sister, because she always called me her sister, and she fights me on it, which my dad gets involved in. He has tried to get me to accept the family more now than ever. I have told him I am not interested, and I just want to go home. Because I didn't adjust in the last 11 months, he wants us to do family therapy. I have told him I'm just not interested. He said it's not fair to push everyone away. I told him he was the one who left when I was 5 and that none of them were exactly my family because they were mostly strangers up until I moved in, and honestly, my dad has been mostly a stranger. I stayed with him so little and had such little communication with him. I don't care about having a better relationship. I would rather be home with the family I know who were willing and able to take me. I would still have many friends around me too. My dad got mad the other night because he told me he had booked a session and my response was okay. He told me he wants me to help make things better in the family. I told him I don't care about making things better because I don't think of us as a family. I lost my nuclear family. I know we're supposed to be grateful for who we have and all that crap, but they have never felt like my family. Not even my dad. I barely remember when he lived with us. Barely remember seeing him more than once or twice a year, and I don't need or want him. Am I the a-hole? My mom never said a bad word about my dad. She never discouraged the relationship. But after a point, I did grow tired of going out to see strangers. I had no real relationship with my dad. And to put it into perspective, I asked him to move back home, closer to me basically, when I was maybe 8, and he told me he couldn't leave his family. So no, I don't care about having a relationship with him. I want out. I am willing to do whatever to get out. But we will never be a family. More added info and a kinda update. It's late, so I'm not replying to everyone. Plus, there is a lot of you, and I do appreciate that. Like a lot. I asked my dad about individual therapy like many of you suggested, and he said no. He said it would not help if he and the others weren't involved, so there's that. I also never went along with living here, but I was given no choice. My grandparents tried, and I know they spoke to the woman/social worker who told me I needed to live with him because he is my father and my parents, blah blah blah. I made it very clear I did not want to live with him, but that held no weight with the decision. Now for the top comments. No a-holes here. You're just a kid who's been dealt a crap hand. I don't blame you for being angry and not wanting to put in the work to make this family function. I don't blame your dad for wanting to make it work either. He may have made some really big mistakes, but it sounds very much like he loves you. Go to therapy, if only because you're a teenage girl and that crap is hard enough on its own. I know, I used to be one. I would ask for individual therapy for a bit before family therapy becomes a thing though. It would give you a moment to work through some of your crap before you've got to work through the family stuff. No dude, he could have tried to make it better before her mom died, but he only visited her so often. He's only trying now that she's dead. I doubt his reasons for doing so are as noble as you make them out to be. Family therapy still might be a good call, though. It might take a therapist to listen to how OP is feeling and convince her father that what he's trying to push on her isn't actually what she needs right now. Not the a-hole. I'm so sad for you that you weren't allowed to move in with your grandparents. I mean, your mom died, and then your dad made you move across the country to stay with people you only know from spending a few weeks with them every year. Far from friends and other family that lived closer to where you lived with your mom. Maybe use the therapy session to talk about how upset you are because you were forced to move away from your remaining family and had to change schools, and everybody in your father's family appeared to think you should have adjusted by now. I feel the same. I know and love my grandparents. They are people I have spent time with all the time since I was a baby. I grew up seeing them every single week, except for weeks I was with my dad. And now I'm with a man I haven't really known since I was 5, who has a whole bunch of family I don't really know, and they expect me to love them and want them in my life when I would gladly never see them again and be with my real family. Maybe I was thinking I would just sit there quietly and let everyone else talk, but that might get the point across more. Thank you. I'm so sorry you have to deal with this at all. You have been catapulted to a whole new world that you feel like you don't belong. It basically is. The thing is, maybe if I had seen them more before, I would feel some sort of attachment, but I could never see them again and it wouldn't hurt and I wouldn't miss them, not even my dad. It was a chore the last 2 years when my mom was alive to visit him. Not the a-hole. Your dad and his family need to realize that real life is not the Brady Bunch. Maybe therapy will help him see that what he's doing isn't really helping you. It's understandable that you don't think of these strangers as an immediate happy family. Maybe, if he's open to letting you go back to your grandparents, you agree to travel more often to see him and spend time with him. Otherwise, he risks you cutting him off completely the minute you turn 18, and that would be sad. He obviously loves you if he's willing to go to therapy to fix this. I would agree to that, to get home, to get back to my family. I just want to go home. If he keeps me here, once I do more home, he can forget about ever seeing me again. I know that sounds childish and immature, but I don't feel enough closeness that I would want to keep a relationship after everything he has done, regardless of him loving me. I do think he loves me. It's just he hasn't given me so many reasons to love him. Now for the second story. Am I the a-hole for telling my biological parents that I don't care for them and never will after my adoptive parents passed away? I'm a teenage boy in senior year of high school. My bio mom and dad gave me away as a toddler when they were extremely poor to make the raising of my sisters, their 3 daughters, easier. Great form from the people who should love you like no other, right? I lived with my lovely adoptive parents, an elderly couple, from ages 6 to 16, until they died weeks apart from each other. After my adoptive mom and dad both passed away, I had to go back to the same kids' shelter for a few months. The shelter had already been in contact with my bio parents about potentially taking me back, but there were conditions. We had to simulate living together for a few weeks. If that was successful, I could stay with them longer until I left high school, entered the workforce, or began tertiary study and had enough cash from part-time work. I've been living with my bio parents and my sisters for over a year, and I'm nearly 18. I really don't like the group of them. They see me as a nuisance or some sort of a troublemaker, given my self-reliance and tendency to stick to myself and my friends. They are blatant in treating my older sisters, who are in their 20s, better than I. My mom and dad give them a monthly allowance, on top of the welfare allowance they already get for their studies, drive them to and from college, pay more attention to them, and just treats them better than me, their 4th child. They don't give me an allowance even though they clearly can, nor do they spend that much time with me. I've pointed out the unfairness to them and they deny they love their daughters more than me. They say it's equal, and that I simply don't demand more from them, which they apparently love about me. But I've realized long ago that they're lying. They don't see much hope in a waste of time like me. They even called me that when I told them I wanted to work in construction after doing hands-on training, in comparison to my sisters who are lawyers and doctors to be. Over time, I've stopped participating in house duties, started and I'm preparing to move out to live with friends, packing and everything. I'm nearly an adult. My parents have noticed this, as have my sisters, and have grilled me on it one evening when I was packing my clothes. So, I simply told them that I know they see me as a mistake of theirs, and I'm moving out to stay out of their lives. They asked me what I was talking about, and I just couldn't take their faking it anymore. So I told them that I know they didn't care that much for me, and I don't care of any of them either, and I never will anymore. My mother burst into tears. My sisters just scoffed and rolled their eyes, and my dad yelled at me to apologize to all 5 of them. But I couldn't look at them anymore, so I just went to another room to cool off. It's been a few days now, and I'm itching to get out of here. But I'm thinking it might be childish of me to do this. Am I the a-hole for saying what I said to my biological parents about my lack of love for them? Now, for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I'm so sorry that you have endured so much rejection and loss. These are horrible conditions for a child to grow up in. I don't think you were wrong for speaking truth to power, but I do believe that once you've moved out, You won't get much, if any, support from these people anymore. So, it will be a hard road for you. Here's my 2 cents about a career in construction. You can go on a site as a laborer, but try to get into a union apprenticeship soon in a construction trade you like: electrician, carpenter, sheet metal worker, etc. Your earnings will be much greater, and I think you will benefit by the training. A construction trade is a very decent way to make a living, but I will warn you that most people in construction do start to have physical problems by age 45 or so, and therefore you should plan all along to move into construction management, estimating, or something more of a desk basis. Learn all you can about the mathematical or computer aspects of the business. Your future is bright. Always remember the kindness of your adoptive parents. Thank you for your kind words and advice. I'll keep it in mind for sure. Architect here. Construction careers can be great options, but definitely go to the actual certified trades route or construction management. There is more flexibility there for you to move into management roles, which are easier on the body if you ever develop physical issues. The millennials have experienced that building some level of flexibility into a career is very advantageous in a way that earlier generations often don't think of. Obviously, you are Gen Z, but I think it will still apply to you. Not the a-hole. The first mistake was not involving a therapist at the very beginning. You were a minor, so this is not your mistake. Losing your adoptive parents like that must have been traumatic, and everything that came after has been just as difficult. Understandably, your relationship with bio family is dysfunctional. You get to choose who you want in your life. If you want to create a bond with bio family, I would only do it if a family therapist were fully involved in the process. There's too much to address on your own. If you don't want to have them in your life, that's fine, and you should feel able to make that decision guilt-free. Being blood-related doesn't mean we owe people anything. That's what we call gaslighting. Your family is gaslighting you to stay so they can continue to emotionally neglect you. It's clear that they've been very neglectful of you from the start. I mean, they gave you away for F's sake. In my opinion, you should leave and never look back, because you're right, they do not care about you. Nope, I think they're gaslighting/projecting to avoid the guilt they should be feeling. OP is a living reminder of all their failures, and they're displacing their anger on him, not the a-hole. I'm so sorry, OP. You deserve better. Not the a-hole. You absolutely aren't selfish whatsoever. You are an adult, and you get to decide who it's worth living in your life. Now, for the last story, am I the a-hole for refusing to pay for my dad's retirement home fees? My parents divorced when I was a baby, but my mom encouraged him to have a good relationship with me. However, my dad was never interested in that. He'd come see me for a few hours on the weekends and call it a day. He wasn't a constant in my life, but I liked him and enjoyed his visits. He remarried shortly after his divorce and had 2 more kids that I would play with occasionally. As I was growing up, he and I had arguments about how he'd treat my siblings and how he treated me. My dad adored his other kids and he'd take them on trips, go to their school events, and pay for whatever they needed. I invited him to all my school plays, graduations, etc. He never came. I won't lie, it hurt. I was his first child, and he didn't seem interested in me. Plus, he was very vocal about his dislike towards my mom, something that I hated because she was the one taking care of me. When I went to college, he agreed to pay half of the expenses. I was thankful for this, and I thanked him each time he'd send a check. He came to my graduation ceremony, and when it was over, said that his responsibilities towards me were over, and he didn't owe me anything anymore. He didn't need to say it, but it was a goodbye. It broke my heart. He didn't return my calls or reach out to me in the following years. Yesterday, I received a call from my brother telling me that my dad's health had deteriorated and the best option for him would be a retirement home. His second wife divorced him too. My dad is on the older side, so I wasn't surprised. My brother spent like half an hour on the phone describing this place that would cover his needs, make him comfortable. Turns out this place is expensive as hell, and he wants us to pay for his stay there. Monthly, I'd be paying around $2,000, so would my siblings. I told him I couldn't afford to pay that amount monthly, much less during a pandemic. He didn't take it well, and shortly after, I received a call from my sis demanding an explanation. I told her that I didn't make enough money to support myself and pay my share for his stay in the home, to which she said that I was ridiculous because I wasn't married nor had any kids. So basically, where was all my money going then? I told them that we could look into other retirement homes or hire a nurse. But apparently, I'm being cruel and ungrateful because our dad deserves the best care he can get, and the home is convenient for all of us. Close enough to our own houses so we can visit him or be there in case of an emergency. I told them that if they were not going to make an effort and look into other options, then I wouldn't either, and I wouldn't pay my share. Before I hung up, my sister told me she'd sue me for negligence. Like, WTF? I don't know how to feel about all of this. He did pay for half of my college tuition, but he was a detached parent who made it very clear that I was more of an economic burden than a child he loved. Am I being ungrateful? Should I suck it up and pay? Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Why would your step-siblings expect you to pay an equal share for his care when you did not receive an equal share of his love and attention growing up? They don't seem particularly bothered by your exclusion either, so they can figure it out themselves. Not the a-hole. 1. Either your sister won't sue or won't be successful. 2. You had no obligations to explain why you wouldn't pay. Remember that the next time that you are speaking with siblings. The less that you say, the better. 3. Your dad made a concrete decision to end his financial support of you. Time for you to return the favor. Again, you need not explain your reasoning on this point to anyone at any time. And 4. Siblings picked the home, which means that they picked the price. The price is their responsibility. If you pay any amount, expect aggressive communications as to why you aren't paying more. No good can come of it, and it will likely lead a lot of grief for you. Thank you. I'm worried about the lawsuit. Is it possible for her to actually sue me? Is there any leg ground to it? I can't see what she'd sue you for. You've done nothing illegal in saying you won't pay your share, unless there's some legal agreement you haven't mentioned. Don't waste your money on a lawyer unless you receive papers. Do not give your siblings or the retirement home a single solitary cent. Did your father own a house, a car, have social security or some kind of retirement, 401k, IRA? Who has power of attorney? Who makes medical decisions? Who controls your father's money? Your half-siblings chose a place that costs way more than $6,000 a month, since I assume your father himself is also using his retirement income to pay. I'm so sorry to be so suspicious and cynical, but I'd like to see a copy of your father's will and know who he's named as executor. I'd also like to know if he's named one of your half-siblings as the payable on death on his bank accounts. I'd also like to see an accounting of where his money is presently being spent. I don't think this is merely about keeping dad safe and comfortable. I think it's about your half-siblings maximizing their inheritance by trying to guilt you into covering your father's expenses. You owe nobody anything. Not the a-hole. Don't give them a cent. I never thought of all that. My dad isn't rich by any extent. So I'm guessing that if he is paying something, it's the bare minimum. I'm pretty sure I'm not included in his will, and I have no idea who's responsible for his money. Probably my sister. She's his second child. Now that I think about it, he did get hit economically when he divorced his second wife, and maybe that's why they're reaching out to me for money. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe.